Hello and welcome to Haunted Montreal's Spooky Story Sessions. I'm your host, Holly Rhiannon, and today I'm going to tell you all about Montreal's mysterious river monsters. With over 200 documented ghost stories, Montreal is easily the most haunted city in Canada, if not all of North America. Haunted Montreal is dedicated to researching these paranormal tales, and our channel brings you new videos in both French and English every second Saturday. Dating back to the pre-contact days when Montreal's island was widely known as Tiohtià, today's episode explores a legend about strange monsters swimming in the St. Lawrence River. But before we get into it, please remember to like, subscribe, and hit the bell button so you get notified every time we have a new tale to share. And hey, if you're already subscribed, thank you so much, and welcome back. We are so happy to have you. Now, without further ado, let's get spooky. Dating back to the pre-contact days when today's Montreal Island was widely known as Tiohtià, a legend about strange monsters swimming in the Ganyatarowanina, the Big Waterway, circulated among many First Nations. The dangerous aquatic creatures not only swam in the Great River, but also in its tributaries and other bodies of water nearby. When the French colonized in the 1600s, they too encountered these mysterious creatures. Jesuit missionary Louis Nicolas created a codex depicting a bizarre mermaid combining a fishtail with a human torso. The face appears rather feminine with long hair, but under the chin are fins or possibly a beard. The French inscription in the codex translates to "marine monster killed by the French on the Richelieu River in New France." Despite French attempts to eradicate this creature, rumors abound that the mysterious river creature still swims in the waters surrounding the island of Montreal to this very day. The St. Lawrence River Valley, which the Mohawks call Ganyatarowanina, or the Big Waterway, has a rich history of indigenous use and occupation dating back over 9,000 years. Today's river valley was submerged under a large inland sea until around 10,000 years ago, when glacial melting caused the waters to drain into the Atlantic Ocean. Many scientists call this former body of water the Champlain Sea. As the waters drained, the resulting area was seen as ideal for habitation and transportation. Ganyatarowanina was a large water system with many tributaries, islands, and archipelagos. The soils were fertile, and it wasn't long before the ancestors of today's Mohawk and Haudenosaunee First Nations began establishing trap lines, villages, trade routes, farming lands, and the great city of Tiohtià on today's Montreal Island. According to Mohawk oral history expert Dr. Michael Dockstader, Tiohtià is an ancient ancestral place, an indigenous place. It was a Mohawk village of around 5,000 people on the island. The island was what I would call a metropolitan trade center. The Algonquin people would come down the Ottawa River, others would come down from the Innu territories up the St. Lawrence, and then there would be the various Iroquois linguistic groups that would converge, and that was a major trade center. With Tiohtià being surrounded by water and trading via canoes on the rivers, it is perhaps not surprising that Mohawk legends and stories often feature water. Indeed, the Mohawk creation story involves the formation of lands on the back of a giant turtle in endless waters. Today, the land of North America is often referred to as Turtle Island. Concerning the river creatures, they were described by First Nations such as the Mohawks and Omahas on the Missouri River as a group of monster serpents who were extremely territorial and attacked everything that ventured close to their aquatic domain. Many people lived in such fear of these creatures that even the mightiest warriors would avoid traveling the river alone. The creatures were known to attack without provocation and would challenge all those who dared enter their territory in a canoe. These river monsters were known as Wakandagi. According to the legend, these aquatic beasts were said to be extremely long, serpent-like in body shape, and were covered in scales. They possessed an extremely thick tail, had 4 deer legs, complete with hooves, a face that appeared to be the mix of a deer and a snake, and large antlers upon their heads. Even though the beasts had legs, they remained within the water at all times and chose to live exclusively within the caves along the river. Despite being extremely territorial, aggressive, and occupying almost every mile of the river, the Wakandagi were rarely seen. One was only able to view them during hours where the river and its outlets were covered in fog or mist. But just because the fog and mist would eventually fade as the day went on didn't mean that the Wakandagi would go dormant. These river monsters would continue to flip every canoe that they encountered on their waters and would attempt to drown and consume every occupant within it, all while remaining completely unseen. The storyteller concludes, "It was widely believed that even though the creatures hated all that ventured into their waters, they hated those that ventured in alone the most." The Wakandagi were said to challenge these lone warriors by throwing spheres of water at them rather than flat out drowning them. If a warrior spotted a water sphere flying towards them and it were to land inside their canoe, they were supposed to pick it up and throw it back at the beast. If they failed to do so, or did so too late, the sphere would explode and kill the warrior, ultimately flinging their body into the water to be consumed by the monster below. If the warrior was able to throw the sphere back at the creature in time, it would end up exploding and wounding the Wakandagi, and thus proving the warrior was worthy enough to cross the river safely and without further incidents from the creatures. When French explorer Jacques Cartier arrived in the river estuary of Gagnatarro-Wanina on August 10, 1535, he renamed it the Gulf of St. Lawrence in honor of the saint's feast day. Jesuit missionary Louis Nicolas journeyed through the territory from 1664 to 1674 and created an album of drawings entitled Codex Canadensis. The drawings were meant to illustrate a manuscript by Nicolas entitled Histoire naturelle des Indes Occidentales, or Natural History of the West Indies, but it was never published as the missionary had hoped. As previously mentioned, a strange creature combining a fish tail with a human torso appears on page 59 of this codex. The face is rather feminine with long hair, but under the chin are appendages which are perhaps fins or a beard. The torso and arms are scaly, the hands are smaller fish tails, and the torso is separated from the large fish tail by a broad band or ridge. Nicolas's French inscription translates as "Marine monster killed by the French on the Richelieu River in New France." The national history of the West Indies does not supply further information about this river creature. When exactly the monster was slain is unknown, and what exactly it was remains a mystery. It is possible that Nicolas worked with an oral description, since there is no indication that he was present during the slaughter of the monster. It is noteworthy that mysterious aquatic creatures appear in folklore throughout the world. In one recent case in Japan, an old legend resurfaced involving a mermaid of some sort known as Amabi. First documented in 1846, Amabi is an auspicious yokai, or class of supernatural spirits within Japanese folklore that can predict the future and offer protection. According to the BBC, as the story goes, a government official was investigating a mysterious green light in the water in the former Higo province, present-day Kumamoto Prefecture. When he arrived at the spot of the light, a glowing green creature with fishy scales, long hair, 3 fin-like legs, and a beak emerged from the sea. Amabi introduced itself to the man and predicted 2 things. A rich harvest would bless Japan for the next 6 years, and a pandemic would ravage the country. However, the mysterious merperson instructed that in order to stave off the disease, people should draw an image of it and share it with as many people as possible. During our recent pandemic, the story of the sea creature Amabi has resurfaced, and many people are drawing her and broadcasting the images in hopes of protecting themselves from the dreaded virus. Closer to the island of Montreal, legendary marine creatures still capture imaginations as well. Because the river's lakes and watersheds are often interconnected, there is a wide range of marine environments for mysterious creatures to live in and roam. One such example is Champi, a mysterious creature that is said to inhabit today's Lake Champlain to the south. Over the years, there have been over 300 reported sightings of the lake monster, including one by French cartographer Samuel de Champlain, the founder of Quebec and the lake's namesake. Champlain is alleged to have documented a 20-foot serpent thick as a barrel and with a head like a horse. More recently, modern theories related to Montreal's river monsters have emerged. According to scientists, it is possible that errant Greenland sharks sometimes swim up the river, possibly as far as Montreal and beyond. While normally the river's waters are teeming with bass, muskies, trout, salmon, pike, walleye, perch, carp, sturgeon, channel catfish, sunfish, and rock bass, sometimes larger creatures swim upstream such as rogue sharks and even whales. Discovery Canada presented St. Lawrence in search of Canada's rogue shark to examine the theory, explaining that although unlikely due to the fresh water, it is entirely possible that these large marine creatures can endure long inland voyages. Lending credence to the theory was an errant beluga whale who visited Montreal's harbor in the autumn of 2012. Belugas, like Greenland sharks, normally live in the salt water around Tadoussac, about 500 kilometers upstream, and well beyond into the depths of the Atlantic Ocean. Lastly, there was a sighting several years ago by a surfer enjoying the freestanding waves behind Habitat 67. She had been out on the waters for a few hours in late May of 2014 when she spotted something strange that appeared to be swimming upstream through the rapids. She described it as looking like a cross between a big snake and a fish with fins, adding, "It was something dark and slimy, about as long as a bus, but not nearly as thick, slithering its way through the rocks and the waves in the Lachine Rapids. Never seen anything like that before, even in the ocean." In conclusion, from the ancient times when the lands were covered in a giant sea to the present day's rivers, lakes, and archipelagos, all sorts of marine creatures have been plying the waters in the area where the island of Montreal exists today and far beyond. The fact some of these creatures could be legendary marine monsters with stories dating back thousands of years certainly gives pause as to the potential dangers lurking in the river just off the island's shoreline. Enter the waters at your own risk. Are you a Montreal resident or perhaps a tourist who has experienced something strange along the St. Lawrence? If so, we would love to hear your stories. As always, we're very interested in hearing about what you think could be going on. Thank you so much for stopping by. If this is your first video, we do hope that you'll stick around for the next one. We post videos in both French and English every second Saturday. If you'd like to learn more about the organization founded by the talented Donovan King, it is all listed in the description down below, along with links to purchase tickets to in-person haunted storytelling experiences. Remember to like, subscribe, and leave a comment. We'll have a new video out in a couple weeks, but until then, stay spooky.